Hey there, guys. So this is going to be the 60s, top 10 60s movies. Things are a little different. I got a haircut, but some things aren't. Some things are still the same. He still has the worst list. I still have the best list, and he's still, in the middle. He's good. Yeah.
I actually have some foreign films, so.
For once. And Josh is still all best picture.
Dude,
First of all, let's just say, when's the 50s list? The
50s list is going to be delayed to like December.
I'd say 2018.
I don't know if you ever said this, but the 50s list is going to be the last decade's video.
Yeah.
Maybe.
50s list is coming out around December because we've only seen like 5 50s movies, so yeah.
But hopefully Michael Voorhees will have more videos coming out in between then.
Yeah, we're filming like 5 videos today.
You're gonna see how much of a Kubrick fanboy he is in this video.
I'm not a Kubrick fanboy.
So we each have 3 honorable mentions?
I have 2.
Okay, so Josh, you can say your honorable mentions
First of all, I just want to say that in preparation for making this list, I believe I only watched about 8 60s movies from what I had originally already seen, and so if you're wondering
he
why
wasn't prepared.
It's August, I don't want to watch 60s movies. I only have 2 honorable mentions. My first one is West Side Story. Anyways, West Side Story I think is it's just a really good movie. I give it a 9 or 10. The plot is kind of like a cliche. It's like based on like a twist of the Romeo and Juliet story, but
modern twist. 60s modern twist.
I don't know what to say about West Side Story, so yeah, anyways.
It's fun.
You don't really have to see it. But if you want to watch all the best picture in the year. The other honorable mention is Planet of the Apes. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember watching it. It was a really great movie. And I remember I had not known about the twist when I first watched it, and I thought it was an amazing twist ending. Who's the lead actor? Jack Huston?
Charles Heston.
Oh, Charles Heston. He was pretty good in the movie. And yeah, I mean the special effects are really dated.
The costumes are good. Yeah, I feel bad for having this on my list because it's made by a child molester, and this is Rosemary's Baby.
Alleged.
It's happened.
Yeah.
You can't deny something that happened. Yeah, Rosemary's Baby. It's really good. I didn't think. I don't really remember my problems. I just think that it's a little slow. Like it's not as much of a horror movie as it could have been, maybe. But yeah, alright. Has some really good performances. Next up is a movie that I expected to not like at all. I thought it looked like really cheesy, and it's The Apartment, which turned out to be really entertaining and with really great performances, and it's really fun. So yeah, The Apartment's really good. Next up is Yojimbo. Yojimbo. I don't know how to say it in the Japanese, so I'm just going to call it Yojimbo. It's a really good samurai film from Kurosawa, who's not one of my favorite directors. I think he's kind of overrated of what I've seen of his work. But it's a really good samurai film with a great performance from... I don't know his name.
Ken Watanabe.
Toshiro Mifune. Toshiro Mifune.
Taishiro Mifune. Okay, that guy. He's really great in Yojimbo. Sorry if I'm offending you, Josh, but... Yeah, that's the end of my honorable mentions. All 3 of those are 8 out of 10s. Now, on my actual list, it's 9 out of 10s. And
Wait, before you do your honorable mentions, Talisha, I just want to say that all of his honorable mentions have been remade. All these have had remakes.
My first honorable mention is The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, which is a great western starring James Stewart. Has John Wayne, James Stewart, a bunch of other actors, but this is a really great western. This movie is about a person that's famous for killing an outlaw. This has a really great story, and the characters were really good, which is surprising because westerns usually don't have that amazing of characters. This has great characters, and it's a really well shot movie, and yeah, it's just a really good story. My second honorable mention is The Virgin Spring, which is a film by Ingmar Bergman, which is... He's easily one of my favorite directors now, top 5 for sure. He's made so many amazing movies in the 60s.
So are you finished at least?
No. And this movie's about this girl that goes into the woods and gets raped and murdered, and
By
then
Roman Polanski.
yeah, it's typical Bergman stuff with the great cinematography, the great shot compositry or whatever it's called.
Composition.
Composition. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but yeah. Yeah, my third honorable mention is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which I think is a great western. And Eastwood is great in it, and I like his character the most out of the 3 movies.
Like his character is at his best.
Yeah, he's at his best. The score is great, even though it's like the music is some of the songs are reused like way too much. Like that famous song that plays when he comes on screen, like. Yeah. That song and a couple others are used like 5,000 times in the movie, and it's just a really awesome western, and I recommend it.
Okay, my number 10.
Number 10.
It was famously mentioned by this gentleman.
So
My number
so-
10 is Rosemary's Baby by what this man calls the rapist Roman Polanski. I don't care if he is a rapist or whatever. I mean, we're talking about his filmography, not his personal life. So anyways, I think this is a great movie, and I wouldn't necessarily call this like a horror movie. I think it's more of a thriller. And
Psychological
yeah,
drama.
I think it's a great thriller. All the performances were great. Mia Farrow was great. The supporting actress, the old woman, she won Best Actress. I forget who the hell she is. I don't know who that. But she was.
What else
really
was she
good.
in?
I have no clue. I don't. This has really nothing to do with the film, but a film that I really want remade is this film. I want a Wes Anderson remake of Rosemary's Baby. I think he would make a great remake of Rosemary's Baby just by his style.
Delise, what do you think? Rosemary's Baby, directed by Wes Anderson.
Yeah, that'd be good, but I don't want a remake of the movie.
A reimagining.
Alright, so my number 10 is The Great Escape, which I have not seen in like 5 years, so it's so I don't really have much to say about it, but I remember it being just a great film. It's a different World War II movie because most World War II movies are like all sad and depressing, but this movie's fun and entertaining with some really good characters and a really good cast. I know it has Steve McQueen, not the director,
Not the black one.
but the one who I love. Richard Attenborough and
Charles Bronson.
Bronson and Donald Pleasance. I like all those actors, and I don't really have much to say about it, but yeah, it's entertaining.
My number 10 is a film by Ingmar Bergman, and that is Wild Strawberries. And this film is in the top 250, and I mean, in terms of the technical aspects of the film, it's basically perfect. Like cinematography and all that stuff is just great. Characters are really interesting. It's about an old person that's depressed, and it's just a really great movie. There's lots of artsy elements, and I know you like artsy elements, but I don't know if you like this movie. It just has really great characters, really interesting ones, and you care about them, and you care more about them the more you learn about them. I recommend it.
My number 9 is Psycho, and I think Psycho is a really good movie. I think like the iconic shower scene is overrated. He gave a great.
Just being edgy.
I'm not being edgy. Like honestly, I had no idea that it was from a famous movie and a famous scene. I would still think it's an awful scene. But I don't think it's as awful anymore because he gave a great explanation about how, it's an attack in the shower and like the editing is like representing how being stabbed in the shower would actually play out, which was a really good explanation. But I still think it's like choppy editing and bad, just like bad directing.
Alright, so this is the first Man with No Name movie on my list. It's for a few dollars more, which is my least favorite in the trilogy. Spoiler. I don't know why it's my least favorite. It's not worse than the other ones. I just kind of slightly like the other ones more. This is still a great movie. I like the chemistry between Clint Eastwood and the other guy. What's his name? He was the bad in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
I don't know.
Lee Van Cleef. Yeah, that's who it is. Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef are awesome in this movie together. They're teaming up to hunt down the same outlaw, and it's just a really good movie, and it has a bank robbery in it, so obviously I'm gonna like it. And yeah, it's really, really entertaining, and I think it's probably my favorite score of the whole trilogy. It's hard to say, but I really like the score to this movie.
So my number 9 is a film that
Is it
These
another
two
Ingmar
hate.
Bergman movie?
absolutely hated.
Persona?
He's only seen like 5 minutes of it, but he's seen the whole
That
thing.
still
Took him,
doesn't clarify.
took him like what 10 hours to watch it,
Oh yeah.
which is 8.5 by Federico Fellini, and I just think this is a really great movie. There isn't that many problems with the movie. If I had any problems with the movie, it would just be like the dubbing being really distracting at times and a lack of background noise in some scenes.
Bad direction.
No, the direction is great. The acting is great, and I really like the story of this movie. And there's lots of scenes that I would consider just perfectly done. I like that scene with the news reporters at the end, and then he's like under the table or whatever. I just think that's a great scene. I didn't get that scene when I first watched it, but then when I read into it a bit, it just made more sense and was just amazing.
I didn't put in the effort to look it up.
One of the best things about Federico Fellini movies is the cinematography, and all of his shots are just amazing and just perfect, absolutely perfect. And yeah, just a great movie, and I really like the characters too.
My number
Oh
8.
fuck! No, this isn't helping at all.
My number 8. I don't know what. Okay, my number 8 is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and I have no idea what you guys have against Butch Cassidy.
It sucks.
It doesn't
boring.
suck.
Yeah.
It's not boring.
The good part is the Spider-Man 2 reference. Tell us why it's so great, Josh. If you're so.
I don't know. I haven't watched it in a while.
You watched it like 2 months ago.
I think if I actually watch it, I
The
would call
Departed.
like best or one of the top 10 best movies of the 60s, but it's definitely one of my favorites. It's a really entertaining film, and like as a western, it's a really fun movie.
So if it's fun, it makes you lose.
No, it's the train, like all the train robbery scenes are great, and the ending
Yeah,
is
those
really
are
great.
The end shootouts really good.
Yeah.
So my number 8. Is this higher on your list?
Hmm?
This is higher. On
Huh?
It's
Is
my
it-
number 7, I believe.
Oh.
Spoilers.
yeah. So these two like it more than I do. It's Doctor Strangelove from Stanley Kubrick, and I've already said how much I like Stanley Kubrick and all the other videos. But yeah, this is another one of his. I wouldn't call it one of his best films because there's like the 10 level Kubrick, and then there's the 9 level Kubrick, and then there's the other level Kubrick. This is one of his 9 level movies. I don't think it's a perfect film, but it is a very entertaining film with really great performances. Yeah, it's really entertaining. I don't know if it holds up as well as some of these other movies because it's a very political film, but
Okay, so my number 8 is by the famous pedophile director, Roman Polanski's Repulsion, whatever.
Decision.
This movie is about a girl who has visions of rape and violence.
Oh
and
my god, every fucking Polanski film.
A big chunk of this movie is about her staying in her sister's apartment while her sister and her boyfriend is gone, and she has all these visions of like these horrible things, and it's just done so well. The character is very interesting, and just her whole life is just pretty tragic and stuff. There's lots of great symbolism in the movie.
My number 7 is a Best Picture winner. It's one of 3 Best Picture winners on this list. Okay, and that is Lawrence of Arabia.
It's
Yeah, it's a good.
By the way,
yeah.
it's a movie that Alicia likes.
It's one of my favorite movies.
Lawrence of
Eight out
Arabia
of 10.
was like one of the first movies that was like an epic that I'd ever seen. Like before I really got into films, I've been watching like really like kind of like B films that were like I thought were good films at the time.
Zoom.
No, you still think that's a masterpiece.
and like just seeing Lawrence of Arabia and what David Lean was able to
The movie
do
for a
in
masterpiece
the
video.
1960s, the overhead shots of
The desert.
not of the desert, but also like when you see like
Arabia.
those like hundreds of
Horses.
Arabian extras and they're like charging and stuff, and it's just like
Oh, generalizing. Calling every brown guy Arabian.
it takes place in Arabia or whatever the place is called. And I just thought it was just a brilliant film, and Peter O'Toole was amazing in it.
Very, very
A fun fact: Lawrence
Alec
Arabia.
Guinness is in it.
Hey, great.
From Star Wars.
Yeah, I know.
The next up is the first in the Dollars trilogy, or whatever he calls it. Man with No Name trilogy. It's a fistful of dollars. It's a great film. I really like Clint Eastwood in this film. It's very entertaining. It's a remake of Yojimbo, and I think it's better than Yojimbo.
You can say Yoshimo.
Yozumu. Okay, yeah, so it's a good anime. Fistful of Dollars is really good and intense and really well acted and scored film from Sergio Leone. It's not my favorite in the trilogy, but it's definitely great. So, there you go.
So my number 7
Action on the back.
is Doctor Strangelove, or How I Stopped
Worrying and
Worry About the Bomb and Loving It and Stopping It. No, Doctor Strangelove is a great comedy. Yeah, it's just a great comedy, and it's a great war movie. This movie is great. It's really well directed, obviously. Has good acting. It's pretty funny. Now, I wouldn't say it's like one of my favorite comedies. This also has one of the most entertaining characters of the 60s, which is the General.
Who is it? Was that the guy with the machine gun?
Yeah. He's a really great character.
Right. So is it my turn? No, it's the leash. Josh.
Your turn.
Josh Leash's turn.
Josh. Okay. Okay, what is the... What happened? Jesus Christ. Anyways, my number 6
Just.
is my first Sergio Leone film on this list. Once Upon a Time in the West. I think it's a really great movie. Henry Fonda was really great. I really liked his character. I think, okay. I just really like the overall plot of this movie. It was more easier to follow than the plots of Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More.
Those are so simple, though.
I didn't think they were so. Oh, it was so hard to follow for me. There's way too many characters. Once Upon a Time in the West, it was like the perfect movie by Sergio. Well, not the perfect, because he has another movie on this list. Anyways, it was just an overall great movie. Yeah, I think Once Upon a Time in the West is probably one of the most easily accessible westerns, and it's in English, which makes it that easy.
Yeah, it's dubbed in English.
Oh, it's dubbed in English?
Yeah.
I thought it was just in English. I guess I can't tell what it
It's a
is.
spaghetti western. It's dubbed in English. So next on my list is The Graduate, starring Dustin Hoffman, who is a fantastic actor. He gives a great performance in this movie. I don't know, it's really hard to say why I like this movie. Josh said it sounds like my kind of movie, or it is like my kind of movie. I don't know what that means. Yeah, it's really entertaining, kind of, and it's really dramatic. Oh, and I really like the Simon and
Garfunkel?
Simon and Garfunkel soundtrack to this movie. I really love it. It makes most of the movie.
My number 6 is Lawrence of Arabia, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. The more and more I think about it, the more and more I just love it. The scale of this movie and what they were able to accomplish with this movie in the 60s is just absolutely amazing. Like the battle scenes, just absolutely great. The characters are great. Lawrence is just such a great character, one of my favorites of the 60s. The cinematography is mind-blowing great. Hollywood movies in general, usually they don't impress me with the cinematography, but this movie had such great cinematography.
Yeah.
It's very, very memorable.
I'd put it in the top 10 most beautifully shot movies ever.
Yeah, probably too. You've all seen this movie. I mean, it's a classic. Go!
Josh,
Josh.
get that reference.
Yeah.
Okay, my
It's
number 5.
Butch Cassidy.
My number 5 is the third and last
West Side
best picture
Story.
one on this list.
The third Magnum Force.
And The Sound of Music. I really like this
Do it.
movie for the most part, and it's my favorite musical of all time. I really like this movie for the most part, except for like the ending. I felt like the ending with like the Nazi storyline was like way out of left field, and that, like if that was cut or like if they like it was like talked about more beforehand. Other than that, it's really great. Julie Andrews should have won Best Actress.
Yes, alright. It's the last 9 out of 10 movie on the. It's my favorite 9 out of 10 movie of the 60s. It's one of my favorite 9 out of 10 movies of all time. I love this movie. It's
Did you say the movie? Oh,
It's Sanjuro. So this is a sequel to Yojimbo. Wait, which is.
It is?
Yes. It's like the Dollars trilogy. Where it's the same character. The movie has the same character in all of them, but it's not this like a continuation really. So yeah, in that way, it's a loose sequel. And this movie is really, really entertaining. The same actor from the first one, Toshiro Mifune, he is even better in this film. He's really charismatic and entertaining in this movie.
Hey, my number 5 is the only Andrei
Instagram?
Tarkovsky film in this list, which is Ivan's Childhood, which is a great World War II movie about a boy who finds or makes friends with like these officers. It's just a really great movie. The main character of this movie is a child, and usually you would expect the performance to be pretty terrible, but Tarkovsky does a great job at directing this kid to give a great performance. And it's not just a great child actor performance, it's actually a great performance in general. You can compare this performance to lots of great adult performances, for sure, in films. It doesn't have that much action, it's just, about this boy and his life in the war.
Is this the afterlife?
Okay, my number 4.
We're so out of it.
The Good and the Bad and the Ugly.
The good and bad and the ugly.
Well, that's the title.
Yeah, I just like everything.
No, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I really wasn't expecting to like this movie as much.
Of course
as
you
I did.
weren't.
No, I gave Fistful of Dollars, and for a few dollars more, both 8 or 10s. They were both good movies, but they weren't like amazing and spectacular. And so I thought Good, Bad, and the Ugly was, same thing, a really good movie, but not as great as everyone said it was.
Should I
But
like it?
this was a really great movie. One of the best things about it was Clint Eastwood.
Should I like
This was just like a really smart movie. Like with the other movies, it was,
Sorry.
in my opinion, it was just like hard to follow along, and it felt like so many things were going on at the same time. But The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, in my opinion, it was like more focused on Clint Eastwood character and Tuco, and Lee Van Cleef's character Angel Eyes, as it's more focused on them and wanting to get that treasure buried in the grave. And it was kind of like a western buddy cop movie. They're going on a trip
In
to
their
find-
favorite rocket ship.
The score was amazing. He says he feels it's overused a bit, and I didn't think that. It's an amazing song, and I love hearing it over and over again, and it works in almost every scene it's used. And the end fight scene, the famous 3-eye
The
stereo.
duel
Yeah, the famous duel.
is amazing.
It's absolutely amazing. One of the best scenes ever.
Number 4 on
The
my
worst
list,
movie on my
is-
list.
Planet of the Apes, the original film. I think it's a fantastic film. Most of this movie's like him like in court, right?
Court. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of it is.
He's like trying. What is he on like trial for? No.
Being a human.
Yeah. And he's like trying to explain himself about like where he came from and stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I remember all that. Yeah. So it's a really great movie. It's very intense in that way. I really like all the talk about like the apes and being better than the humans and all that stuff. And the costumes still really work in this film. I think it still looks very believable even now. And it definitely does have like a fantastic twist, which is very iconic and very incredible.
Yeah. Well known.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell that Tim Burton twist was.
What was it?
It's at the end he sees an ape, like the famous Abraham Lincoln statue in the chair.
Oh my
It's in
god.
Washington.
It's an ape?
It's an ape sitting on the chair as Abraham.
Like a
Lincoln.
stone ape?
Yeah. So it's like Abraham Lincoln.
My number 4 is Psycho by the famous director Alfred Hitchcock. In my opinion, this is his best film and his only fantastic film, in my opinion.
As I said, and Rear Window, I thought you
It's
said
good.
was great.
But this is absolutely an amazing movie. Honestly, this is such a great slasher movie. It's one of the best directed horror films of all time. All the shots are great. It does have some dated aspects about the movie. It definitely does. Some of the, like that scene where, was it the police officer
What?
that gets stabbed on the stairs and then he like falls down?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's some bad scenes in this movie, some really dated scenes, but overall, it's a great achievement in filmmaking. It has great suspense. It has good characters. Norman Bates is easily one of my favorite horror movie characters of all time. He hates the shower scene, but I think it's actually a great scene. I think most people would agree on that. And yeah. And if I had any other problems with the movie, it would probably be like the that scene towards the very end with the guys explaining Norman Bates's. Yeah, it was like
he's crazy.
I feel like the movie would have been better and smarter without that scene.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
it could have been smart like Maniac, which doesn't spoil everything.
Yeah, so he has this psychology problem.
Yeah, like we could figure that out.
Okay, my number 3 movie is Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space
Stanley
Odyssey. And for the most part, I think this movie is spectacular. Like for the first 10 minutes
Great.
of the film, like everything that happens that leads up to the monolith landing and the apes surrounding the monolith, everything before that scene
is boring.
not boring per se, but kind of boring, but just I felt like it wasn't needed. But I guess it makes sense because we need to learn things that it teaches us things that happen later, and it's connecting stuff. Anyways, after that 10 minutes of the beginning of the film, I think it speeds up, it gets a whole lot better, and it's just spectacular. Everything Stanley Kubrick was able to do in this movie was like revolutionary, like trying to make, like if you were to hand the script to a modern day director, very few, like almost, I don't think anyone could be able to do what Stanley Kubrick did here. It would just be a whole bunch of CGI, and they would turn Hal into a Jennifer Lawrence robot or something.
Oh.
She's a pretty robotic actress, so I know that.
Oh yeah. Hal is one of the best films of all time. This soundtrack is great. Yeah, so it's the best soundtrack of all time, and just everything about almost this movie is like almost perfect. Everything about it. I've heard like so much stuff about this movie, like how it's so confusing and everything. It was not confusing at all. It was like pretty straightforward actually. Like except for the apes was a little bit confusing.
What about
but
the baby?
The baby? Okay, the baby at the end was confusing. Like the beginning and the end were a little confusing, but the like 95% of the movie was so straightforward, and it followed the plot of these pilots going against the robot essentially, which is like
Essential.
well, I'm trying to. That's like that makes the movie sound bad, but it's amazing.
Yes, very recent.
Yes. Psycho. I don't care what he says. This is a amazingly
I
suspenseful film,
It's my number 9 film.
and I'm a big slasher film fan. And I like good slasher films. I'm not like one of those people that just like every slasher film blindly.
Exactly.
This is a really
You might watch this.
This is a really well-made film from Alfred Hitchcock. Made 2 of my favorite films of all time. This and Rear Window, and he also made one of my least favorite films, Vertigo.
Oh, you thought Vertigo was bad? You gotta watch The Bird. The Bird's
Yeah.
awful
I didn't watch
movie.
it.
So, but Psycho, it's a really, really well-acted film. It's a really well-made film. A really well-directed film. And Anthony Perkins, Anthony Perkins is fantastic in this film. Yeah, probably one of the best performances in a horror film.
Okay, the first 10 out of 10 movie in this list is gotta be Persona by Ingmar Bergman. This movie is about a nurse that has to take care of an actress that can't speak, and that's already a pretty interesting concept. You get to learn lots about the characters. All the characters are interesting. They're all very deep and layered characters. And typically, the movie is directed amazingly. There's not a single scene that has like a technical error. And Bergman just does a great job with the cinematography and everything. And it's just a really awesome movie. I need to rewatch it some more times to get everything in the movie. But yeah, in my first watching, it was just amazing. I loved it. I loved every scene in the movie. Amazing. 10 out of 10. Masterpiece.
Okay, my number 2 film, which is my first 10 out of 10 for this
Cringe.
list, is another Stanley Kubrick film,
Wasted
which
opportunity.
is Lolita. I don't understand why you guys don't like this movie.
I give it an 8. I think it's a great movie.
Okay, you give it an 8, but he was a 6. But I think
Yeah,
this
because
movie...
the writing
is
is
just-
awful.
I thought this movie was just amazing. And just the premise of this alone is very interesting. Like, a man marries a woman to be near her daughter, who
It's just
he
an
has...
American Beauty ripoff.
Who he has... No, it's not American Beauty ripoff, and the plot
It kinda
the
is.
same.
I was thinking about American Beauty when I was watching it.
This movie came out like 40 years before.
Yeah, but American Beauty's way better. So.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is better.
Thank God.
And Lolita has... Lolita, or how you pronounce it, has one of my favorite opening scenes of all time.
What was the opening?
It's him in the house.
And he kills that guy.
I don't understand that at all.
Well, if you watch the rest of the movie, it
I did.
explains
I watched
it.
the whole thing. The next one on my list is to complete the trilogy of my list. It is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's a fantastic film. Yes, Clint Eastwood is amazing in this film, and all the performances are good, and the score is amazing, and the directing is amazing, and the end fight, or the end duel, is the best duel in like any Western film. So, and I don't mind the dubbing in these films, unlike him.
It's
Because-
not even my problem with the
Because
movie.
I know that this is like, they had to dub the English in because it was another language. It was Italian. So yeah, I forgive it for that. Great characters, yeah, great performances, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, my number 2 is a film by Ingmar Bergman. But it is my favorite of his films, and it is one of my favorite movies of all time, and that is Winter Light, which is about a priest that questions his faith. Everything
No,
about
see,
this
yeah.
movie is absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic. The characters are great. They're all interesting.
I
They're
think
all
Ben Bruce-
they're all different characters with their
Yeah,
own
yeah.
problems. I don't know. I
And
just
a
love this
priest.
movie a lot. The dialogue is great, and I really love the setting of this movie too, and it really fits the movie. So yeah, there you go. Now we're on to
Oh,
what is it, Doctor Fuck You?
Oh my god. Okay, my number 1. I have had 3 Kubrick films in a row. My number 1, 2, and 3.
Kurosawa.
And my number 1 is Doctor Strangelove,
Ugh.
which I think is a masterpiece. I mean, again, I forget which. I said this in The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. I did not expect to watch Doctor Strangelove and love it as much as I did. But I thought.
You said that about like every movie.
No, I didn't. I said The Good, Bad, and the Ugly and Doctor Strangelove, and that's it. It just hits every note, and like being a satirical like parody on war films and a comedy. And this is one of the first film I've ever seen where an actor plays multiple characters in the film.
Goddamn
Yeah, I mean,
Lucy's.
like, this movie is perfect. Like, it's one of the few
That's a
films
flaw.
I call a masterpiece. There's only 9 films I give a masterpiece status. Doctor Strangelove is one of them. I don't call Zoom a masterpiece. That's a goddamn lie. Doctor Strangelove is like a must-see movie for almost any genre. Like, for a war film, for a comedy film, for a parody film.
It's a political thriller.
Yeah,
It's like Rocky IV, political thriller.
Yes, it's a 10.
I call it a war comedy.
French Connection.
Shut up. Oh my god. I'll look that up.
That was
I'll get
that was
back
kind of
to
like Zoom.
Josh, are you sure we didn't mix up lists?
you. Shut
My number 1 is the second Kubrick movie on my list. It's 2001, which is in my top 10 films of all time. It's the only one on this list that's in my top 10. It's the only one on this list that I give the masterpiece status to. And I absolutely love this movie. The first time I watched this film, which was 5 or 6 years ago, I absolutely hated this film. I guess because I didn't understand like art movies back then. And then I rewatched it like a year later after I hated it, and I loved it, and I've loved this movie ever since. It's not about characters or story like some of these other films on our list. It's about like the journey of this movie. It's visually stunning. It's amazing how this movie looks like just as good as Interstellar does now. And this was, what, 40 years ago?
Yeah.
45 years ago? Yeah, and it's still visually stunning. It still holds up. If you watch films for base level entertainment all the time, you're not going to appreciate this film. But if you like to go deeper into movies, then you're really gonna like this movie. Yeah, this movie's all about the visual trip of it, and the soundtrack really helps this movie, and it gives it like just such an amazing feel.
All 3 of us have a Kubrick movie as our number 1. So yeah. My number one is 2001: A Space Odyssey.
as well.
As well. Okay, so the soundtrack is actually pretty amazing. It's one of my favorite soundtracks. Hal 9000 is a great character.
And no one else.
This movie is perfectly directed. Yeah.
Pink Floyd.
One of the biggest complaints of this movie is that a lot of the scenes go on way too long, and a lot of the shots go on way too long. But
It's on purpose.
I disagree with that. I think it sucks you into the movie more. And what? Oh.
That's
Gives you a visual
Content.
blowjob.
And it has one of the best endings
So,
of all time for sure. And yeah, that's it. So yeah, there you guys.
Oh.
That is the end of our top 10
I
60s
just want to say
movies.
something first. Okay.
this
so,
was the worst video ever.
No. Doctor Strangelove, 2001. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and Psycho are the only movies that are on all three of our lists. So
Check those out
yeah,
for sure.
those are must-sees, and then the rest of them are, if you get a chance to watch, definitely don't.
When do you
Like
give The
Ingmar
Graduate?
Bergman films are last for sure.
So yeah, that is our top 10 60s movies lists.
Yeah, it was painful, it was long, but we did it.
So yeah, we're gonna do an annual horror movie series video around Halloween. And yeah, and more videos. We're filming like 4 videos today. And yeah, they should all be out soon. Thanks for watching. So see ya.
So see ya.